If you're wondering where I am, I'm sat in a sauna. And this is how I used to make weight back in my professional career. Back when I turned professional, I got introduced to this. So obviously, I was oblivious to, is it the right way or is it the wrong way? But the day before weigh-ins, against Ian Napper, this was probably the first time I sat in one of these. I probably only had about £2 to get off, but I done it. I got it off. But early on in my career, my boxing career, it probably was a bit easier. I know I was still old at 28 when I turned professional, but I was still quite fresh. But all the way through my career, every title fight, apart from one fight, I was literally sat in one of these to make weight. It was probably the wrong way, because some fights, if you can guess, if you can guess how long, the longest time I've sat in one of these to make weight, let me know in the comments below. I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you in another video about that fight, the longest I was in one of these. But it was ridiculous, in and out, in and out. I've probably only been sat in this now for about 2 minutes, and it's getting really hot. Like fight, I remember a fight, I think it was against Sergio Perales, and I had my mate Jimmy Nico and my dad. They were with us while I was trying to make the weight. And I was in and out. I was in and out of this. It's one of the fights I made the weight pretty bad. I wish I'd been a bit more professional. But obviously I always knew that I had the sauna to get the last few pound off or whatever, do you know what I mean? So maybe that's why I took my foot off the gas in doing the weight properly. But I always had this as a cushion, if you want to call it that. But it's definitely the wrong way to make weight, sitting in one of these, cooking yourself. Like, all the way through British level, I steamrolled it, didn't I? Like, I knocked a lot of opponents out in British level, but how better would I have been if I literally done the weight properly? Like, towards the end of my career, like the very last fight in my career against Gavin McDonald, I know I moved up in weight to super bantamweight, but that was the best I've ever made weight. I didn't sit in one of these. I literally had to get on the bike 15-20 minutes with a sweatsuit on. I had like half a pound, I think, to get off. It's the best I've ever felt. But when you don't know, you don't know, do you? Like, one of my fights, honestly, just have a guess anyway. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll come back and tell you all about that fight and how bad I made the weight, how crazy it was. But this is definitely not the right way for all you youngsters out there who are turning pro. Do the weight properly. Like, make the weight properly. Like, I got introduced to this, so I thought this was the right way. I thought, the program, this must be the right way. This is what the pros must do. Day before weigh-in, just sit in one of them, get the weight off, rehydrate. But it's not. It's definitely not. When I look back on my career, that's one of the things I would have definitely done different. I wouldn't have sat in here. I'd have lived the life. I'd have stayed around my weight a bit more rather than ballooning up. Because when you're a professional boxer, you've got to live the life. I love the life. I love being a pro. But I always thought, well, I've got 10 weeks to get it off. I think a lot of pros do that, but I was lucky enough to tell the story. I got to the top. I got a Lonsdale belt. I got a Commonwealth title belt, and I got the IBF world title belt. I've got an Intercontinental belt as well, and that was a pretty hard fight. Going back to Sergio Perales, I absolutely, it was so hard to make the weight. My mate was, come on, half a pound. I was getting out, nearly falling on the floor, just laying on the floor, just so hot. Like, I'm getting hot now. Well, I've probably been in about 6 minutes, but I was in and out for a long time. But that Sergio Perales fight, if I remember, I was getting in this, and I think I had about a quarter of a pound or something to get off. and it just wasn't coming off. I got back in. I was having like another 10 minutes. I can't do it. I can't do any more. Getting out. Do you know what I did? Probably the most dangerous thing you could ever do. I got in a then I stepped into a real sauna. There was a real sauna where I was to make the way out. And he said, just get in the real sauna to get the last bit off. Obviously, that's where you're thinking danger, because you're getting in with your full head. And you're frying your brain, aren't you? But I did. I got in. I was totally not gone, by the way, for that way, and I was like so bad. But and then I remember when I used to have the rehydration drinks after. Just ruined me. Like my wee was yellow, and then I just kept drinking enough water until my wee was clear, and then you think, oh, you're hydrated again. But imagine all that trauma I've just put my body through. And then I'd have to fight 12 3-minute rounds the next day, which I did. But against Sergio Perales, this is a secret not a lot of people know. He was probably the biggest punch I've ever been in with. Every time he hit me, it stung. Like, he flashed me. Everyone says, oh no, he didn't even look bothered. But every time he hit me, he was so heavy-handed. And I remember, I think it was the end of the 7th or 8th round, I sat down and I couldn't see out this left eye. I had pure blurred vision. And I didn't say out to my trainer because he probably would have stopped the fight. But I couldn't see. I was looking at you now. Everything around you was all blurry. I couldn't see. But I thought, I can't say anything. He was like, come on, you need these last 4 rounds. Obviously, the last 4 rounds of the fight, I needed to win. I went out. I was just fighting literally with one eye. Like, probably the power of the shot, and obviously the dehydration and making weight is why it could have went the other way. You know what I mean? I could have ended up brain damaged, but I wasn't. I'm here telling the story now, and I'm telling you, obviously it's the wrong way to do it. I'm starting to sweat now, as you can see. But I went out, I won them last 4 rounds. But I sat down. End of the 10th round, I sat down. It was 11 and 12. The vision come back. Like total vision. I could see everything. I was like, oh my God. I don't know what it was, but my vision come back. Everything was totally normal. I was buzzing. I went out with them last 2 rounds and just give it everything. And I got the decision on points, which was, he was ranked number 5 in the world. So that shot me right up there in the rankings. And that got me, obviously, the shot at the world title. But again, this isn't the way. This isn't the right way to make weight. But once I'm fat, it's starting to get really hot now. But when I get out of here, I know I won't be getting back in. But I've got in and out for a long time, and I'd love to see if any of you guys could guess the exact time I was in and out of one of these for one of my fights. I'll do a video on that, because that was a pretty scary time for me, let alone anyone else, because nobody really knew, because I didn't tell my trainers or nothing. I just went and done the weight myself. But that was the worst I've ever made weight. But listen, I still done 12 rounds. I still got through it, but it was stupid, really. It was really, really silly. But yeah, so I'd get on the scales before I got in. I'd get in here, I'd get dried off, get back on the scales. Nah, you've got to get back in. A few of my mates sometimes there, come on, get back in. But the majority of the time, like towards the last few fights in my career, I was like, oh, I'll just go and do the weight on my own, you know, because I was maybe a bit in denial of, oh, I've made the weight right. I've always had this as a cushion, and maybe I was a bit stupid, really, not trying to look into it further and make the weight properly and living the life. It was stupid. You've got to live the life in boxing. If you want to be a pro boxer, you've got to live the life. Be a pro boxer. Monday to Sunday, every even after your fights, maybe you have a few days off, maybe you have the odd Chinese or something, or Indian, whatever you like, takeaway, whatever you fancy. But you've got to be back in that gym on the Monday. You can't. That people say, what would you do different in your career? And that's what I would have done different. I would have lived the life a lot more. But yeah, I'm getting hot, so I think I might get out of here now. Obviously, I've got out of there. I've only been in about 8 minutes. I think I was 58.5, just under 58.6, I think I was. See if I've... Yes, there, so 58.4. So I've lost quite a bit there. But that's just nothing compared to what I used to have to do.